Wel, ffesgr yma agos ffater o'r tro comanech risgir y fach a mach a fi yn tro cwmol ei fyny nhw dyryd gyda hyn eisiau bochor yr iawn ac yn ei balen ag yn ei allan gymadwyd yn ymwch yn y na hain comanech comedi yn o'ch ddrigiad yn i'w gynnu bal ac yn samwyd car i'n holl o'r eisiau. Welcome on behalf of the Bath Historical Society to this meeting. The chairman is unavoidably detained, but hopefully will escape by the end of the night. It gives me great pleasure to welcome Callum here, Callum Macleod, Macleod. Nobody knows him by that name really. He's called Kiwi. And that might be something to do with the fact that his father was somewhat at one time, where there might have been some Kiwis or something like that. I'm sure he's terribly said. Now, I think the format will be, Callum is going to talk to us about, particularly about old cars and his memory of starting up with cars in the days gone by. And then you'll have an opportunity to ask him questions. And there's one question I have, which if he doesn't answer it during this talk, I'm going to ask him at the end. We'll leave that for just now. So, Callum, thank you for coming, welcome, and the floor is yours.
Kenny said that I'm going to be talking about cars. Well, I'm not really going to bore you that much about cars. But I was going through all my notes on that, what I really want to talk about is my time in life. I wouldn't say all night, but one of the main beginnings of my talk is going to be my time in Lighthill, my time before I went to school, and I loved it, and a place like Lighthill is. I don't know if there's anybody ever given a talk on the Lighthill area. But I'm just going to give a talk on the Lighthill area first, and then I'll go down. When I went to school, all the hassle there. When I went to work, my experiences there, and then maybe further on how I started the businesses. Okay, so I'll start first about, I was born in Lighthill, 63 Lighthill Back. To a lot, my mum and dad, I couldn't have got better mums and dads. They absolutely encouraged us. They kept us on the right path in life. My mother was from Brew, and there was a family of about 8 or 9 in Brew. A lot of them went away, some stayed at home, some went away. And my proper name is Malcolm Morrison Macleod. Now, very few people know that. People come up to me and say, where's Malcolm Macleod? Anyway, I'm named after my mother's brother. That's my first name, and then the Morrison comes from my mother's maiden name. So that's the Malcolm Macleod. But everybody knows me as Kiwi, but I'll tell you about that later on. And there was a family on my mother's side, there was about 8 or 9. On my father's side, there was another 8 or 9. And, it's been through all this. And, families have married couple of 2 or 3, And, I've got 3 kids, yeah. In these days, there was 8 or 9. And you wonder why. There was no telly, there was no Netflix, there was no YouTube. So you had to do something. So, when you look back on it, you can see why. Just hardly any, now 1 or 2 families is big. So, on my father's side, we were called, on my mother's side, they were very placid people, very, very lovely people. And I think my brother-in-law takes after my mother's side. Right? Very placid. And I took after my father's side, Akuyama, people in back in northern us, just do not mess with Akuyama. Just do not mess. And it's a kind of there's a generation in back that Akuyama produced, So I was born, I ended up having Akuyama because people have told me in my relations, oh, you're Akuyama. Even my wee son, one of my sons, when I had him in town one day, my cousin Marianne from Cole, she's a first cousin of mine, and I had my wee fellow with me in the shop that she was working in. And she says to him, he's a real queer Macleod fella, I can tell, don't bother. So Marianne Novak's daughter, and Novak was one of my uncles in Cole. But most of my other uncles on my father's side, they went to, a couple went to America, a couple went to New Zealand, and one or two passed away, I think. But they all ended up being, doing something unusual. The one in America, in Detroit, he used to lift up houses and move them back when they were widening the highways there. And he developed the jacks and the rollers to do all that. And who used to tell me a lot about him was, remember that Edinburgh Macleod, he was a minister in Stornoway? Well, he was in Detroit, a minister in Detroit, and he knew my uncle very well. And he used to tell me about all the things he did. And he was ahead of the game. He was one of the main developers in actually how to move big houses and churches. So that's one of the things. My other uncles ended up two of them ended up in New Zealand. One of the ones that ended up in New Zealand, who went there first, remember Andy Macleod, the electrician in Stornoway? His dad went to New Zealand. And the reason why my dad went to New Zealand was that he used to send telegraph home to the family house, and how such a wonderful place this is, brilliant. So my dad always in the back of my mind, one day I'm going to New Zealand. So he did that. I think when I go back to the history, he was about 22 or 23 years of age, but it wasn't the first ship that he went on. He was sailing for about 2-3 years, and then he decided he was going to New Zealand. And he found a ship, a cargo ship was going to New Zealand, and he jumped ship in New Zealand, like a lot of them did. But before that, he got in touch with his brother, that's Andy Macleod's father, who was a policeman in Wellington, and he told him that, hey, I'm going to jump ship in New Zealand, in Wellington, come to the docks, and I'll tell you what boat it is. Anyway, that's fine. My father goes to Victoria Docks in London, find a ship that goes to New Zealand, and a jump ship in Wellington, and his brother, the policeman, was looking after him. And he hid him in a shack for a month. If they couldn't find him within a month, you could stay. But the deal was that he had to be a best man at his wedding, because he was going to get married. But the thing was, for N.D. Macleod's father, although he went to New Zealand, and N.D. himself was born in New Zealand, they came back when N.D. was 7 years of age. But so N.D.'s dad didn't say New Zealand, but my dad, he stayed there. He was there for about 15, 18 years, on and off. And my other uncle, he went to New Zealand too afterwards. Anyway, that's the basics of my parents. The other thing my father is that he had so much stories. He was a sailor, and it was for the merchant navy he did, And during the war, he worked for the merchant navy. He wasn't the Royal Navy. The merchant navy carried all the goods and all the stuff. And eventually, 2 years into the war, a year into the war, he got into the U.S. Navy, merchant navy, and was in the Empress of Canada. And one of the stories goes, I've got so many stories about my father, I could do another talk on that. One of the stories about my father was that he had so much stories. On the Empress of Canada, he thought it was brilliant. All the food was as much chocolate, cigarettes, eggs over. You said you want sunny side up or over easy. In a British ship, there's corned beef and pepper spam. You looked at all that. So, and then with the Empress of Canada, he loved that. He was on that for a year and a half actually. And he was home on leave one time from the ship, and he got a telegram. And the ship that docked in Liverpool, it was Liverpool, Nova Scotia, taking all the American troops over and going to Egypt and all. I didn't realise I was doing that tonight. Taking all the troops over, and he got word that the ship was leaving on Tuesday morning, the docks, and could he leave right away home if he wanted to go on the ship. So he told his mother, the ship's leaving on Wednesday, and need to go away today, which was Sunday, and his mother, being such a strong Christian, would not allow my dad to leave on Sunday, would not allow. So my dad was really upset. So he left on Monday morning, hoping that maybe the ship is delayed. And when they reached Liverpool docks, the ship had gone. She was torpedoed off the Atlantic about 2 days after. And I think 10 survivors survived out of about 3,000-4,000 people. Wow. So for me to be here, if it wasn't for my granny being such a strong, devout Christian, I wouldn't be able to hear to talk to you. You know, it's amazing how things. And the other story, he's got so much. The other point I like to touch on all too is that he was in Pearl Harbor when the Japs tried to destroy the American Navy. He was there, and he's got fascinating stories in that time. So that's really my father. And then when he came back home, he then after the war he went to New York, and he lived there for a couple of years. He lived with the Levants up there. He lived with them, and one of the Levant guys, he was up here about 3 years ago. He was telling me that when he was a wee boy, he remembers my dad living in the house in New York, and he used to take him to the jazz clubs. He used to throw him the back door into the jazz clubs in New York, and he said how good my dad was to them. But that's the basics of my kind of parents. And then my sister, she left to the hotels. She used to work in the middle. She left hotels and she went to hotels in America, and she kind of worked in the hotels, and she stayed there, and she married there, and she never really came back apart from holidays. And normally he stayed here, and he had 2 kids, and he's got his old, he had his old, he's tied on his old suit bodywork Christmas. But he's got 2 lovely sons, and my mother was so pleased. He's got one son, Scott, as a minister, and my mother looking out of heaven must be so pleased seeing Scott being a minister. And now Mommy's other son, he's one of the top car guys in Scotland. He can just do anything with cars. I've never seen a guy like him. If that guy lived in London or something like that, he would be very, very successful. He's been very successful up here anyway, but he's just got a gift. It's a bit like, you're born with certain gifts, and it's great when you find these gifts that you're born with. A lot of people don't really find the gifts, that's inside them somewhere. There must be a gift inside most people, and it's great when you do find it. From there, the other thing I know too, my mother's sister lived in Brew, and we used to go over there, and her sister called Mary, and she lived in a black house, and we used to go there on a Saturday, and she never married on her own, and we used to go there on a Saturday, and I hated it, this black house. I hated this black house. We used to sleep there in a big 4-poster bed, and cows on the other end of the house, and this, and we had to do all this nonsense. But looking back on it, I've got such great memories of that black house, having the experience of living staying in a black house, and we used to kind of thatch the roof and do all the bits and pieces. That's another experience with my parents. Memories in the house and back, like most people in these villages, you had cows, sheep, hens, you grow your own potatoes, corn, vegetables and all that. And nobody ever went on holiday, because you couldn't tell a cow, hey, I'm off for a fortnight. So everybody the only people I ever remember going on holiday, my minister was able to go on holiday, the headmaster went on holiday, and maybe the doctors went on holiday. But they were the only few people that went on holiday. The first time I was off the island I was 15, and I was to my sister's wedding. One of the things I remember and all too is when I was a wee guy, I think that's one of the first things I remember as a vehicle. from the time when I was born in Back, I was born 1951, so you can figure out my age. I'm born 1951. And there was no running water in the house, and there was no kind of sewage or nothing like that. And there was, I remember, there was building the waterworks out of the grass moor, the back moor, and they built a big dam out in the moor, and there was a big bulldozer out there. I remember my dad taking me to the bulldozer, and the guy's name was Paddy. Paddy the bulldozer. Paddy the bulldozer. I remember it. I've never really seen any kind of small, you know, similar car, but this big contraption. And I was, oh man, what's this, you know? And the guy started this up, and it was just like an angry animal. I thought, you know, I never stood back, and I thought, that really kind of, you know, that's one of my memories I have of something mechanical, because I always love mechanical things. Because I was never an intellectual person that would sit and read a book. Because I'm there, seeing a family and that you're growing up in the country and you've all these things to do. If I was reading there a book, maybe studying for school and exam, the dad said, hey, John, I can do the corn, or go and shoot the sheep, down the crop, or go and do the potatoes. You know, it wasn't in there. To them, that was a waste of time. Waste of effort. Go and do something useful. So that's just the way it was. That's just the way it was. Because it takes every kind of person to kind of build a world. But I was fortunate that instilled that work ethic into us. If you live in the craft and in the country, I mean, from the time you can do anything, you do something. You're feeding the hens, you're going for the eggs, running after the sheep or something like that. You know, always kind of do. There's so many things to do. To them, studying and reading a book was, oh, don't do that. The other thing I remember, and obviously, one of the first memories of Vegas and Alois and artists that my neighbour Sandy and Katie in Lighthill, he used to drive to George Stewart, Joy and Alois. And he used to take kids home, and I must have been about, I was very young, must have been about 3 or 4. I remember he would put me sitting in between my father and himself with the lorry, and the smell and the noise inside that cab was just a perfume. The smell of the lorry, and the vibration on the thing, and this guy was doing this, and this guy was doing that. I was saying, oh, I would love to be able to do that one day. You know, it kind of, I got drawn into it. I really got drawn into the whole thing. That's one of my great memories. Well, that's one of my memories of that. The people I know too, like in Lighthill, I've been through some of the people in Lighthill, some of my neighbours, absolutely. It was a great place to be brought up. I couldn't have wished for a better place to be brought up. There was Milo, that's Blox's father. He had a car, he had a Mustang with a black one, with a black car, but he had this black, and every time this car, whoa. I remember one day he gave us a lift, so I remember this day sitting in the back, and we had a Kiwi, and was working this, and the gauges there, and the gauges there. I was mesmerised by all this. I said, oh, what's this good? Maybe one day I'll have something like this. And that was Milo. Bloxy and Angus Milo, my best pal. Going to school for a couple of years, but it was going to Aberdeen then. But Angus Milo, that's Milo. And then Angie Larry. That's Dino's father. He was next door to Milo. He worked for Macleod, and he had an 8-year van, and there was a big box van, and there was a big flap out the back. You know, at the very, there's a box van, and there was a platform that went down. And he used to give us a lift to school. This platform would go, we'll be almost sitting around the edge of this platform. And I look back at that. I mean, by the time you're that age, I mean, you're worldly wise. You know, if you're living in a croft and you know these things, you're not stupid. You know, but nowadays everybody thinks all the kids are stupid and you're going to tell them, don't do this, don't do that. But you should learn. You know, you have to sit in that. When I found this, I remember about 7 or 8. We were going to the way. Oh, that was good. That was Angie Larry. The other one was Alice Lancina. That's Mother Ferguson. Alec Ferguson, Alice Lancina. They were lovely. They were beside us. And they were so kind to us. we didn't have a TV, but they had a TV, and we used to go there in winter most nights to watch the TV. Look, and here, it wasn't score. For who?
That's not good.
We used to go there, other than China, and when I look back on it, we just used to walk in, and virtually every night, but Thursday night was always a main one. Man from Uncle, I love Man from Uncle. And there's another one, Top of the Pops, but anyway, went in there and spent the evening there, and Florrie would be there. I still remember Florrie. I don't think she ever sat down. She was all these old people had black scalps. And I do, every woman in the house had a black scalp. Just the way it was. She was there making the tea and all that and all the stuff and that. And the reason why we're going down to them for the TV, well, we didn't afford TV, but if you got a churchgoer, it was frowned on to have a TV in the house. You didn't really have a TV, you had it on a quiet, so it happened then is that the minister decided to get a TV. The Power decided to get a TV. And this ended in church. Honestly, was Benny Year. You remember Benny Year? Because after the minister, and you only watch me getting a TV. And Macaulay said, I only watch the news. So when the minister got the TV, everybody was going to get a TV. It was just wonderful times. Just wonderful times. Same analogy with the cars analogy. If I remember right, I think most people walk to church. It was frowned on to take a car to church. It's frowned on. But then it slowly kind of took away. But that's just the way it was. But the lovely thing about walking to church and walking back from church, when I remember it was wonderful actually. When the minister would have a sit, Macaulay's the only minister I've ever seen. I've never seen another minister in church about Macaulay. I told McClinnock doing the singing. Absolutely just lovely people. But the lovely people that were walking home and walking to church, walking back from church. There'd be about 4 or 5, just in groups. They were always talking about the service, taking points in the service, which was, when looking back on it, I thought, what a lovely thing to do walking home after hearing a church service. Just raising the points and all that. And I thought, that was so pleasant. And you got to know everybody too. You got to know everybody. All these things had wonderful kind of wonderful values in it. I look back at it. But that was also on China.
Don't forget our variety.
Huh?
Don't forget our variety.
Yeah. The other guy I was in a very was actually a great guy, Yangoli. Don't know if they ever heard of Yangoli. Yangoli. He was eccentric. He'd meet you and he'd ask, damn, how are you? Terrified. Damn, how are you? Terrified. I remember I used to go up and milk to him. Because we had a cow and there were some people that didn't have cows, so I'd go up and go, I'm just open the door and leave it all. But one day, other time, we had an old car, an old Volkswagen Beetle. And we rolled it up at the Yangoli's house. And Yangoli's seen it. And we were inside trying to do it. And he comes up the car and I should be all. He's alive. I should be all. I should remember that. Here's the Yangoli. Sure, there's a weekend. He was another neighbour. They were quite posh actually. That's Alan George's grandfather. Alan George had a lot of working back. I tell you that, a lot of good things came out of Taylor's Rooney and Margaret, their assistant. You know, I can't remember her name again. She was Taggart. Yeah, Martana, that's right, yeah, she's a lovely person, lovely, she's a teacher, grand teacher. Well, the other thing I was going to say is that she's a teacher and she knew me well. But one of the things, when I was growing up, I was very shy, and I had a bad stomach. I had a really bad stomach. I don't know, you know, when I look back and I shit loose, and my mother used to take me to the doctor for the stomach. Because I was a really shy person, you know, in my younger days as such. So, but I don't know, I'll tell you about that later on. Friends weekend, yeah, a lovely house, full of people. But yeah, being back in church again. One of the things I'll capture just now to later on. One of the things we just get, it must have been 11, 12, 13. In the evening, in the winter evenings, we used to come to Bridget times for the carrots. I remember that was good. And we found out we had the best carrots and best turnips. Some of the turnips weren't sweet, and some people had them. But when I look back at it, she goes, nowadays the kids are eating goodies, sweet chocolate biscuits. We were eating the best stuff. We were eating carrots and turnips. I mean, you can't get better than that. But Charles Johnny, he was special boy in the village. Somebody figured out that he was throwing strawberries. Somebody figured out this guy's making good strawberries. So, we used to go at night, there was always one on Luca. One on Luca always, all the fence. But we used to figure out, don't take all the strawberries, just take a few from each plant. He must be wondering, where these strawberries are going. So, that was always the last, after you ate the last turnip, if you were a bit hungry, you were and the other one was another neighbour, lovely people again, Sandy and Katie. They're lovely people. They were brother and sister, never married, lovely people, man. They were so good to us. And Sandy, he used to work for George Stewart, and he used to work in the old company yard. That's what God Measles is now, that big yard there. And I used to go up and see Sandy. It's the kind of job he had, and I think he was making blocks. One block at a time. You know, one block at a time. Nowadays, he actually did all day. Just like this block, get a pallet, mixer going, flat with this block. You know, amazing kind of. What these people are doing, it's just amazing. Just amazing. Well, the Brady's. Oh, I remember the Brady's. You remember the Brady's? Yeah, you remember the Brady's.
Yes, beautiful.
So the Brady's were 3 old cats in the village. Another lovely people. One of them, I never seen her out of bed.
Katrina.
That was Katrina. She was always in bed.
Never saw it.
Never seen her out of bed. She was the one that was up, she was up down working in the middle.
Yeah.
And Anna was the one that kept the house absolutely minted. That house was immaculate. And it was the same idea, they were always mowing and growing and everything. They were so nice though. So nice and street people. And then there was Joe McCritchie. He was a wee bit eccentric, but a nice guy. Didn't bother anybody. He was actually one of McCritchie's, McCritchie and Mrs. Brother. He lived in the house on his own, but it's very much alone. But a nice. He took up the piece from my father actually. The other thing was Martin. Still out to Joe's sister. Joe's brother became a minister. He was sort of a minister in Detroit, and then the Baptist Church in Detroit. The other, Joe's sister, Joe's sister, she's NL.
Norman Ellis' mother.
He said, NL's mother. NL's mother. That's the people that own Spatial. So they came on that house. And the other thing with these and all too, that when NL came McDonald, the solicitor, and Stuart, they were living in Glasgow, and their father was very high up in the police in Glasgow, and they used to come home for a holiday beside us. We'd the neighbour, and when these boys came home, we stood away from the bus. They had lovely toys they had. Toys we'd never seen before, and we used to try to go down and play with these toys. They had these lovely toys, and they were when they came home, they were fresh and that, they were high up there. So lovely. The other thing I got to in the village and all too, this was the actual, I would say this would have been the daily record or the express of the village. All the grocery vans and all the stuff around carried all the stuff, but more important, carried all the news. Everybody knew what was happening in the whole village through these vans. It was just, if anybody wasn't well or anybody needed anything, the man, there was a box.
Yes.
He had the bakery van. He had the bakery van. And there was Willie from Grace for the fish van. And there was the only bakery remember, Robin Acre of the horse.
Oh, yes.
He used to come, I just remember him trying to jump on the cart and give us the works.
Yes.
But he was travelling all the way from Laxton. Well, I didn't watch my cart to the fish. I vaguely remember that.
Do you remember him shouting?
Huh?
Do you remember him shouting?
Yeah. And then there was William Handy the butcher.
William Malik.
And there's the Cragan spread bun used to come on a Saturday morning. You used to get six Cragan biscuits and a plain loaf. But if they only didn't have much money, she would ask for the back of the plain loaf. Because the back loaf, that was cheaper, that was smaller. And the other one, if we were well off, we'd ask for a pan. She'd ask for a pan. But the good thing about the pan was water. We used to freaking nibble at it. That's the pan we got out on the road. And then there's Kenny Bullock pan. And Shawnee the butcher.
Oh, yeah.
The Coke and Craig. There was all these vans used to come around. Every day there was a van on Sunday. The only, can't remember the name of the guy saw. School.
Home delivery. That's home delivery.
Yeah, big lovely times. School, I went to school. Absolutely hated the thing. No interest in school whatsoever. I used to try and make myself sick of it so I wouldn't go to school. Zero interest in school. Plus the summer didn't help. Exams, I don't think I ever passed an exam. The only time I ever got excited about being to school was India. This, if I remember rightly, this was Dilip's woodwork shop, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This was the woodwork shop.
Yeah.
Dilip.
Mr. Johnston.
What's his name?
Johnston.
Oh yeah, Johnson, Mr. Johnson.
Bruce Johnson.
And he used to go, yeah, that's the same one. That's freaking 65 years ago. That was still there. He needs to be hiding around there. That was really one of the times that in education that I got stimulated. I loved what sawing, wrestling the thing out and making the things. The satisfaction I was getting doing physical things what really excited me. Whereas other people, oh, I want to say a book, oh, read this book. Yes. So I really kind of enjoyed that. He kind of inspired me, or the kind of type of training we did, or work we did inspired me. But the other fellow, I'm just thinking of that now, next door we had there was a music room next door, and Major used to come and play the piano. Well, you know, I'm not into music, but I still remember Major could play. I've never heard really get a guy that could play like Major. He could play everything, pop tunes, freaking stuff, and he just had this as if he was part of the piano. But I could never figure out who's that PhD is and all this. I could never figure that out. I could have understood, but I didn't know. But here, I think this room was one of the rooms that inspired me in school education. And then after that, I went to the castle. That really opened my eyes. I got into engineering. Chiefy, he was the chief engineer on the old Seaford, sterling engineer, knew everything, these guys knew everything. But see the teachers then, John Morrill, Macleod to the woodwork teacher, he was the guy that builds boats at the nest. He was the woodwork teacher in the castle, and Chiefy was the engineering teacher. These guys had lived the life, they had done it. As far as I can, what's happening now is that teachers, they're out of uni, into trade, they have no clue. They can do no paper, but they can't do it, they can't do practical stuff. These guys knew it all. These people inspired me, especially my chief engineering teacher. One day I would love to be like these guys. I just love it. And I soaked all the stuff they were doing. All the stuff they were doing, engineering stuff. And the funny thing is, I bought I've got a lathe in my workshop at the house, and it's the same lathe that I used in that engineering shop at the castle. And every time I use it, I still use it. Every time I use it, it's back memories of Chiefy beside me, showing me what to do. And I showed you how to forge, the forge, how to weld, how to solder, how to absolutely just. I absorbed all that. But see, history, English. Zero interest in it. I had zero interest in it. So the castle was a great kind of thing for me. Well, the other thing, I'll tell you a little bit, before I went to the castle, in back school and after, one of these, if you had a dispute with one of your mates, you always had a fight. You had to have a fight. And the fight was in the dock. I think the dock's still down there. And it was 4 o'clock, fight on the dock. It was blah, blah, blah. So everybody ran, you couldn't shut, everybody ran the dock. Right? Unfortunately, I ended up one time being one of the guys couldn't fight it. And was John Orman from Greece. Macleod. I don't know what the street was. Anyway, Macleod was and it's a big round, and everyone's clapping, and I started the fight. I didn't know what, I lost the fight. Blood everyone, I'm thinking, I got home. Oh man, did it here. You should have done this, you should have done that. I remember, I remember it was just a great learning curve.
Was that your last fight?
No, he's married.
I have a point. Was that your last fight?
Yeah. So my parents used to be Dennis, Rollo was one of them. Kenny Don of Rollo. Northern Polygon. Stuart,
Nina Forgat.
Nina Forgat. Kenny Tanaka and Spoody. Remember Spoody?
Yes.
Well, and I think, and all the stuff we used to do in the winter. I told you about the carrots and the strawberries and the sweet turnips. I remember when the captain's house, it was down at the bottom, across the bottom there. It had a lovely kitchen in it, and it was a low kitchen over the house, and a lovely big chimney in it. But also that, what's going to do the night? And we were down at Bommy's house in the corner, and somebody said, kept up on top of the chimney. So Kenny Don, he went brave, Kenny Don there was always a ladder, all these houses had a ladder beside them. You could always find a ladder. So, and one's a lookout, one's sticking with a ladder up, Kenny Don with the chair, and we're all behind the wall. Sitting there waiting for that door to open. So you walk out. Sport coming out the door behind them. You figured out, what's happening? That's the kind of thing we did, you know. There was another time I went to Tommy was quick, man. You had to figure what's going on. So, very few of us had the daringness to go up to the bombers and knock on the door or rap on the window. Anyway, I squinted into this time, right? Squinting. I know how to do it. You know, he would try anyway. Rat at the door, just in front of the door. Tommy must have heard us outside, open the door, caught Squiddy down. Took him down to the back of the barn, back of the barn, but he kept all the manure. Put him upside down, whack, get the manure. After that, nobody's going to hear boys out. We always used to build a hut. Also used to build a hut. And but we had handling this and that, the next thing. And used to get a carcass. Remember the carcass? Some people had good carcass in the fields. Carving your own. I used to get the newspaper into it, 6 for a fire. And we used to write. When you think of it, that's like what you do with marijuana. It's the same idea. Same idea. Some people have good carcasses. It's a rubbish. The plan was, what should you do? The smoke, I guess I'm going to, you know, when you see them over there, smoking the factory, and they put it on the ground and say, oh, that's a good one. That's okay, you know, and that's just lovely times. That's what they do with the pop now, isn't it? And then we had people cars. Oh yeah, I'm calling the cars now. We had people cars. Normally was very good at that. Normally myself, we had a couple of cars. We had a Rusty Cambridge. I took photos of it. We used to go with the people, back and forth. Thing. And you were doing that about 10, 11, 12. And the parents didn't, you know, the parents didn't, I can remember my mother telling us to be careful. They just went on and did it. And after school, we used to go to the Lighthill for a bit of supper. And there was a hand pump. Remember the hand pump in the Lighthill? And we used to go over there, and there was always a fight. Oh, I paid more than I paid on you do. It's my turn now. But nobody, never got hurt, didn't we? No, we used to hold it down the head. We used to walk out and back and smooth it in and pretty jump over there. The other time I went to Kiwi.
Can't you find the carriage?
Huh?
Can't you find the carriage?
I'll tell you where I find it, I'll tell you when. One of them was a Volkswagen Beetle. This Volkswagen Beetle, right? We heard, somebody told us that this guy was selling a Volkswagen Beetle in Ute. It was McFarlane and Munster. McFarlane and Munster in Ute. And I think we're waiting for another about 5 or 10 quid or something like that. And how are we going to get this? Nothing can't hold from Ute. So my father had worked on Victor Estate, and Norman's, and Polygon's father drove it. Remember, we towed that car all the way from Luke. And I think we had a shot at Ballala. We couldn't do it in one. We couldn't do it in one. So the first day we took Ballala, and the following day Ballala was going. And we were on that car, and I'm thinking, get some back, we were for ages, man. And I remember this time, somebody told us, hey, put the wheels on back to front, it looks sporty. So we put the wheels on back to front, and it had a sunroof on the back. I think that Volkswagen was a split window black end Beetle, and they're expensive, it's still really expensive now, a split window Beetle. Anyway, we had a sunroof on it, and Mummy came down, sitting on the roof, and Tuna was driving. And the wheels on back to front, and it looks cool, but a little wide, and freaking out of the arch and everything. Down the road, seeing this thing and really good. What the hell? You know the funny thing, the car stayed out for about 400 or 500 yards for the truck down. We didn't realise it was we thought it was a wheel up, or something. I remember the other one I know too that there was a gate of the city. There was a city then, and there was a gate of the city. And when you came up the gate, you had to stop at the gate, and the car was no brake for a hand, because every hand was there. And it carried on. The aim was who could go closer to the gate with the handbrake. Right? So it carried on. I go close. Anyway, hit the gate went like a U, and it opened to pull the thing off the thing. So the what we're going to do here, actually, I was behind the city. And so right, it worked, well, it didn't straighten completely. We put the gate over that ditch and drove the car out. Straight, the gate back. I never heard anything about it. It was so good reason. There was, that's now me kind of leaving school and going to start work. So I left school on a Friday and I started work on a Monday. That's the way it was then. Everybody, unless you're lazy or everybody had a job, you had a choice. I was either had a choice to be a joiner with the bars or a mechanic in Charles Garage. And I love woodwork. You know, I could have been out of job, I could have gone down that line, but something told me. So I ended up being a mechanic in Charles Garage. And I left school on a Friday and started on Monday. And I started after I was 14 because my birthday is 1st of September. And to be able to talk to the school tried to get rid of me. So I would have been time to leave school just a few days into school term, and I was old enough to leave. So they told me how to clear up. So you get a job. So I started there, and I was there for about 8-9 years. That was a lovely learning curve. You know, when I look back at it, you started there, like 8 o'clock to 6 every day, 8 o'clock to 6. And you went in the morning and you were told it's all sorts of pieces. And I remember you used to tell us about, we started work at 8. You don't appear at 8. You appear at 7:45. You are ready to start work at 8. They had these ethics. They had good, strong. They were very strict actually, and it wasn't the boss was doing it. It was the foreman, because we were always given our work a senior guy that we were with, and he told you, hey, that's what you do, you know. And I said, well, flipping doors. 20 people that want to do what you do. But I remember the first day in the garage, I should smell the oil and think, oh, I was just absorbed in. I just love the smell. I still love the smell of it. I love the smell. And the work ethic they gave you and the experiences. And the other thing I want to do, that these tradesmen told you about money. You know, they told you about life, told you about women, they told you about this and about that. You know, they kind of give you a broad outlook of general kind of living in life. You know, and if you were late, like if anybody was late, you were out the night before, they would give you the work. He wasn't the boss. You know, it was the kind of senior guy you were with. You can't be doing that. You've got to be here. You know, and you get nothing. Well, that's the way it was, and you had respect for these guys. Now everybody says, oh, that's all right. You're not for freaking depression. It's their approach. What? You were freaking in there and freaking down the plate, changing the eye, and going on, yeah. You know, it was a wonderful work there. Everything, the whole thing, really. Even at work with the family and everything. And I learned it actually. There was three things I did first in my life. Three things that influenced my life. One of the main, everybody kind of, the first was when you get married. You get married and your kids come along, you have responsibilities, and your values and your views change, completely change. You can work hard and you this, and you're trying to instill into your kids what your parents instilled into you. You know, and that was a great thing, puts you into everything into perspective. The other thing that changed my life, or that influenced me a lot, was that when I was 17 or something, when I was courting my wife, Christine, she had an auntie down in Hythe, that's the south of England, but not England. I was 18 then, 19, and she must have been 2 years, about 15 or 16. Anyway, her auntie invited us down to Hythe for a holiday. Hythe, I thought, that's a second for this. Hey, that's down to over. So I had a money. And, you know, seeing these days, through my life, I had no fear really. And you only get a bit more fear. But seeing these days, I had no fear. I was just, I loved the challenge. I had no fear. And I looked at the hook and over, and there's no sat in my friend, you know. And I thought, we'll go there, go there, down the Hythe, we can do it. So we got all early stuff on the wife. 3, 4, she was good with, well, she used to be, not now, she was good with directions. Anyway, we made it to Hythe, right, at 26 Fairlight Road Hythe. Pulled up this. Is this the house? Mansion. Mansion. Big freaking mansion. And I said, can you better go to the door? I'm not going to the door. So she goes to the door, and her auntie comes out. Oh, lovely seeing you. Come on in. I'm from Backside too, you know. What a freaking mansion. The guy, her husband, lovely man. Chris May, lovely people. He's just genuine, lovely people. He was a financial director of Dormobile. Remember the Dormobile? Oh. And then he became the financial director of Hutchinson's. The Hutchinson's are big. You ever see at the airports? The big generators that plug into the aircraft at airports. That company is making it for all around the world. You know, big company. He was the financial director of that, and the guy was well off. And I was just kind of, you know, you suddenly there, what they do, you come home every freaking night, go and do the telegraph, smoke a pipe, you know, look at no pressure. Yeah, he's thinking there, how's everything's a market? Oh, fuck's sake, man, you know. I think I look at that and I think, you know, everything just seems to be just, but he's up at 5, 6 in the morning, doing all the shows that we don't see. It's a bit like you ever see a duck? Because it glides along the water, but underneath it's going like this. That's the way these guys are. They're freaking glide along. This guy had responsibility, the whole finance company, and it just glides along. But get everything done, and he had everything in compartments. He knew everything he was doing in the evenings, you know. He had everything in compartments, everything freaking order. And I said, that's the freaking secret. So, through my life, I started building things like that. It's good. I'm very observant of what people do and what people, you know what I mean, people and not how they act and what they do and all this. And that really can't. See my house, it's got a big wall on it. No reason being, down in Hythe, we had a big big wall on the house, lovely big wall. And I called big a lot, and they had a balcony. And I got a balcony in the house, and I built the house, a big wall. These kind of things influence you, you know, if you keep your eyes open and watch everything. And the other thing that influenced me a lot, I was cut the grass one Saturday afternoon. Across the road from where we lived the Bathman, VAT inspector, take you down. A nice guy actually, VAT inspector. These guys are shrewd. these guys don't mess. You just, anyway, fine. I get on well with him, but you just keep your distance. You just, he comes across to me, I was feeling like that. He says, no. Yeah, I thought, well, I ain't going to do this. I'm not going to get a back inspection. I said, look at that face, he says, he's going to be. He says, your name has been mentioned to, if you would like to join the Rotary Club. Rotary Club, that's fake, posh people, I think. Yeah, he been mentioned. He says, you can't join the Rotary Club. You've got to be invited to join. He says, if you can tell me you might be interested, we'll be considering you. You know, well, I had agreed with him to say because he couldn't convince the figure that much. So I said, okay. So that's fine. Two months after he comes over again, he must have watched me cutting the grass every Saturday afternoon. I says, we're considering you. He says, I'll tell you next week if we have a meeting. So that's fine. So the following week came, and he comes up, and he said, we'd like you to join, but you've got to come to this inauguration meeting, but you've got to, they tell you what to do and what the rules and regulations are and what all this, and if you like it or not. They tell you exactly that, because they were very, very strict, even with dress code, very strict with everything. And I said, okay, no bother. So I went in there, I shot about 4 freaking, there was a bank manager, a freaking headmaster of the school, was freaking head of freaking British Telecom. I thought, what the heck's it? Nothing to say to these guys. Anyway, they asked me kind of straightforward questions. Have you got a family? Have you any convictions? You know? Have you got this? Have you got that? And I must have answered very clearly one. Anyway, we don't tell you their name, you can be a member. And then we'll be in touch. So then they're going to later say that you're invited to the Rotary Club. So I thought, freaking landing here, put that freaking land here. So that was fine. So the Sunday every Tuesday afternoon, we had 35 members in. It was all kind of business guys, but all the bankers, headmasters, head of the councils, head of all the departments and all the stuff. The solicitors and Colin Scott Mackenzie, that was the freaking guy I sat first, the courts. And I went in there, trying to find a seat beside somebody I knew. I knew them to see, but I didn't know who to speak to. So I sat beside Colin Scott, and Ian Mitchell. Ian Mitchell to me was another level. You know, you just kind of walk past it. You know. What am I going to say? What am I going to say? What am I going to? These guys are asking questions. But because I was brand new, they were so nice to me and so engaging. And eventually, these people changed my life. Robin Mackenzie, head of British Airways, he was so good to me. You know, what we learned. Alan Macleod, he was the chief inspector of Galway. Lovely people. And Carl Skate, Ian Macleod and the Royal Bank, all became my friends. Ian Mitchell became my friends for one year afterwards. These people opened my mind to a lot of things. That these people are on the same level as you, and they were so nice to me, so kind of nice to me. And I learned so much from them. And the other thing with them is that they want to teach you. They want to learn. They want to, and usually put tips together and all that. And I learned so much from these people. That was one of the main things. And the other thing I was saying is that one of the frightening things is that they don't tell you this. When you're in for 3 months, you can do a speech. You can hear that talk. I never talked to anybody my whole life, part of my life. And I was saying, you can take me a second, let's take it. So, but you talk about your life over there, you talk about that thing and that. And I couldn't sleep for 2 nights before the people couldn't talk to all these people. Oh man alive, you know, I can't. Anyway, I got 2 books at the library. And I read them. And some of them time I ever read freaking books, educational books. And I absorbed that. I absorbed all these freaking things. And I couldn't figure it out. Because we come dinner first thing in the street. I could eat any of the And anyway, I stood up and I started talking. And the key with anything with that is the first line is the most important. And I got the line right. I got that line right. And everybody seemed to enjoy it. And I thought, I was still apprehensive. Anyway, I got a phone call in the evening, and Macleod back comes right back and he says, Kiwi, that was one of the best, that's one of the best introductory speeches we heard. And that, see the confidence that gave me. And after that then, you know, because by that time I was getting rid of my stammer because when I walked through customers, you get confidence and you get, you know, my stammer was getting less and less and less and less. And that really kind of, you know, so I owe a lot to the Rotary Club to have kind of guided me through most of my life. That's one of the 3 things. What's it? Right, starting the business. How are we doing for time, anyway?
15 minutes.
What?
Yeah, well,
Come to talk.
in case you
Keep going. Keep going.
we've got questions for you too.
Right, okay. Right, starting in business. Why did I start? I started because I was ambitious. I had no fear. I loved what I did. I really loved what I did. But you know the sad, when I was looking back on that, I knew what I wanted to be when I was 9 or 10. I knew I was going to be a racing driver or a car mechanic. That's the 2 things I wanted to do. I did a lot of work with the school kids. With the school kids years after that. It was called a 16 plus. That means you do workshop with them, and they do them a talk after. And we get class of about 15 to 20 there. They were ready to leave school, and I said to them, hands up, give me a show of hands, all the ones that know what they want to do. Out of about 20 there, only about 5 people put their hands up. I said, you need ambition. You need dreams. Dreams and ambition to life, I said to them, is one of the most important things to have. You just can't leave school and not knowing which you want to do. You've got to have a dream. Doesn't matter what it is. Have a dream, have ambition. And just go for it. You know, I was shocked. I thought we were at school would kind of encourage them what they want to do. Or ask them, you know, can you up to 2 years, 3 years school? What line do you want to go down? What do you want to do? What do you want to dream of? Everybody must have a dream. Well, that's what I was thinking. All kids must have dreams that they want to do. But that's the reason why I started my own. When I left Charlie's garage, I was there for 9 years. I ended up being the foreman at the end. And there was about 15 staff there. There was about 7 or 8 kind of senior guys, and there was about 4 or 5 apprentices. And I was only around about 20 people. And a lot of them were older than me. But I got on so well with them, and they were so good to me, you know. I don't know where I ended up, you know. I must have said to the boss, yeah, I'll do the foreman. Anyway, after I was a foreman for a couple of years, I thought, I want to move on. And I thought, I'll never do the boss's job, you know. So, what I'll do is I'll start my own. So I started my own in a wee shed, and was paid £5 a week rent. And my first apprentice was Robert Hughes, my first apprentice. So I started my own, and I'll just run through roughly. I won't go deep, because I could do another talk on my businesses. I started Kiwi's garage, and then I started used car rentals. right? And then after that, after I could go with that, I needed more. I started then local centre shops and car parks. I was enjoying it. Past the pressure. It wasn't the pressure as such. Because when you enjoy it, you do the pressure isn't that great. You know, it's a stimulation you get when you enjoy doing something. Stimulation and you get drive. You get drive from it. And after motor centre and then Macleod's garage. That was the very useful thing. Going back to the Hive guy and the guy that was running this big company, he was putting everything into compartments. I started doing that with all, and I run these things at a certain time usually for that, and I put everything into compartments. And that, going back years, that kind of, you don't realise what you learned years ago, how it helps you. That kind of give me a structure of how to run the four businesses together. And I was still the kind of hands-on guy in mechanic. Because the other thing is, I thought when I retire, I'll go to the office, sit there and count all the money. I did it for 6 months. I was never so pissed off in all my life. It did not give me one bit of satisfaction making the money, because there was no, I just loved kind of fixing things and fixing cars and seeing things happen. I just loved doing that. So, but then again, in business and that, I've been through a stage of business when I nearly lost everything. And then I come back again and I created it bigger than I had it before. I've begun to do another talk on my business team, maybe one night next winter, to $3. Yeah, the car to have. At home, I just got one a few months ago. I don't realise it's modern. I was romantic in this wee box. I could not figure box. I did not. So I even proposed to my wife in my hill in a Palala way by. But the other thing, I've got a great attachment to a home. One of the reasons being is that I used to race them. I used to do a hill climb and race them in the Barrelsmacher Hillman. And the first race we had was a hill climb in Benidorm, right? And we practiced in the morning. I did a few times the hill, and I didn't bother putting the helmet on a seat because that would be okay. And I was flat out. It was to go over this crest, blank crest. I thought it was straight on. It was hard, thick, right. And straight into the walk, through the screen, glad out everywhere, taking the hospital. I remember lying there in the theatre and the guy is freaking pulling this windscreen out of my head. It's amazing I did. Pulling this windscreen out of my head, and I was out for about a month actually. I don't know if it was a concussion or whatever. But you know the funny thing was, about 10 years ago, that happened when I was about 21, 22. No, I tell you when it happened. When my daughter was born, I just newly married. My wife was pregnant. It was a road car. It was a general car we had, and I go to go. And you know, I've got a wonderful wife, Christine. She never ever told me ever slowed down or stopped. You know, she knew that was me. That I wouldn't be the same without doing that. She never ever said to me, hey, slow down, stop, you can't do that anymore. But she was pregnant, newly married, rode off a car, and I was in hospital in theatre, did my freaking head cleaned out. You know? And anyway, got dolphin out, fine. 10 years ago, 30 years after the accident, I was getting this freaking boy on freaking head, this week and a lot. It was fine for a year. I was freaking agitated, I was getting bigger and bigger. And then that pulse started to wear, and I think Christine was saying, hey, you better go and see. There's something wrong with it. And I went, oh, okay, I'll go to the doctor. Freaking doctor's real back there. He gets a freaking pulls this freaking windscreen back in that piece of windscreen of If I held one up in my head for 30 years, I don't know. So that's my affliction to hold on. It's part of it. It's part of it. Can I hold one in? I've got a check. That check goes through there. Oh yeah, children's for that. Yeah, I love collecting cars. And the annoying thing with me is, actually the other day with Christine, she knows I've got a blue one, a red one, and a green one. Ask her about you go actually. Has she ever driven them? She's driven one or two. But she's so good to me, she allows me to do. I know, enjoy it. So once I get my holidays and my things, I'm a shopping, Marks and Spencer. Yeah. So when I get a car and do that, I have so much of myself in the car, I find it hard to sell it. It's just like part of me. It's like part of me. The other thing I touched on was my holidays. Our holidays was always caravan holidays. Because we had 3 kids, 3 lovely kids, and caravan holidays. We did UK. I got bored of UK, so decided to go to France, Belgium, and Holland, all these places with caravan. I loved it. I've never driven to the other side of the road, and I caravan behind there. And no sat. This is times no sat now. I just have no fear. I just love it. I just love doing it. I love doing it. I love the challenge of it. So this time we decided to take 4 weeks holiday. Because the kids end up in a wee roller and they're taking us stage where they don't want to come. Don't want to come to mum and dad anymore. So we decided they were coming to that stage, so it's like a month off holiday. So fine. So you know the good thing about the caravan holidays. We never ever booked anything. We just went, put it to our side. There was no frigging phones or nothing book anything ahead. That wasn't done. Nobody did it. That wasn't done. And it was so kid-free. It was so, nowadays you're anxious. Freaking this or that, freaking this or freaking nonsense. So we just pull up to our side. I think we had a map or something on the other side. Pull up to our side. Any spaces. Yeah, no bother. Fire. Plug it in. Anyway. Decided right this time we always went to France, because France you can go to Spain, Luxembourg, go to France, and because friendly man did tell he had been, the first time I went, he had been before. It's like get off the ferry, I tell you. If you go into Holland and that, you just turn left off the ferry. If you go to France, you just turn left. So we just turned left. We went into Belgium, into France, and then Strasbourg into Germany, and then we're down the Rhine. And the wonderful thing about it is every campsite we're going to. This was the routine. 3 days at one place was fine for us all, really. 3 days you go and see the whole thing, and then you want to. It was just wonderful. Well, it's a wonderful way to have a holiday. I never worked in it, but I loved all the doing of it. And I had the kids all about. One would do the jacks, one would do the water, one would do the toilets. So. and the kids loved it. They just loved it. So this time, again, we're in Germany, down the line. Oh, freaking Switzerland. I had a map, you know. I go to Switzerland. Yeah, and freaking Leeds. I still remember Leeds, Sandbach in Switzerland. Beautiful freaking site. And these sites in Germany and Switzerland are beautiful sites. Anyway, we're there in Sandbach. Gross and Leeds. I always used to go to the shop. I found a wee shop that sells the English paper. And the paper should have had a day or two. I got the Daily Telegraph. I'm back to site. Oh, look at this site. What the frick's this? You know, you can't ever have a dream when you think it's real. I thought, am I freaking dreaming this? Headlines. I kept the paper. Western Isles Council loses 25 million in PCCI. That's just straight down. 25 million is only freaking. That was a freaking £1,000 for every freaking village on the island. 25. And so I phoned the father-in-law back home. And what's this in the paper? Oh, it's the tail. Stay away. So we're at the campsite there, and right, after that again, because we said every day we had no plan, absolutely, from the time we left home, no plan, just day at a time. That's the way we have a holiday. In 2 months that plan, I think we were moving. So anyway, it's fine, so right, antlers out, thinking, but Dilly's freaking just around the corner. So through the Gortap Pass, and I looked at the thing, yeah, through the tunnel, 13-mile tunnel, and we're into the lakes in Italy. Right, thinking, go for that. And I asked her, my wife didn't want to go, she wanted to go back home. I did a vote. The kids, right, who wants to go to Italy, who wants to go home? All the kids, yeah, want to go to Italy. Right, fire on. Right, fired up, went to the police station, and it was going to be a full day drive into the Como. Filled the car up with fuel, I had this Range Rover, it was one of the best vehicles I ever had. It was a big caravan, very big caravan, a 6-berth. And this Range Rover was I would say one of the best. A big V8 in it, big 3.5 litre V8. Brummed it up. It was a hot day it was, hot day. And before you go into these big tunnels, they do checks. You know, there was a queue going into town to check if the tank had already, the fuel's okay, you know. Anyway, big queue. And sitting outside, I looked in the mirror, shimmering out to the fuel cap, because the car's on the right hand side, that freaking fuel was pouring out of out where I filled it, but you know, it was pouring onto the road. Hot day. You see the shimmer, you know, you see shimmer of fuel, shimmer. I was saying, it was pouring out of it. And I said, kids, out of the car, just walk, because we're going dead slow, we're only just a walking place into the tunnel. Get out the car, I'll stay in the car and drive slowly. All I needed was a spark and poof. I was freaking terrified. Got the kids out of the car and my wife out the car, slowly into the thing. And I kept the engine running, doing the use of the fuel. The freaking still kept on pouring. Anyways, we're heading in for the tunnel. I said, I'm not going to tunnel with this freaking thing. You know, this could cause a lot of hassle. So there was a slip road over the corner, freaking pass over the Alps. I'll take a freaking slip road. Right, up the freaking slip road, freaking started climbing. Wow, but I loved it. Second gear, freaking up there, and we were passing cars, and bonnets open on the eating, you know. But this Range Rover, freaking cool, man. Anyway, just before, it was up to, it's 11,000 feet high. At the very bottom, at the top, the kids are playing snowballs. That's how high it is. They're playing snowflakes. And the other thing is, on the way up, just before the top, no clutch. Fucking clutch pedal was getting softer and softer and softer. At the end, there was no pedal. I was in second gear, but second gear, you needed second gear. I couldn't change anyway. Second gear all the way up. A heavy caravan. And reached the top. Pedal, no clutch. Top of the Alps. 2,500 miles from home. 3 kids in the freaking back. There's nobody around here. This is freaking deserted. Anyway, I didn't tell him to change it because they had been lying road. So, alright, okay. So, open the bonnet. Don't have a good car. There are 2 front pipes. There are V8 with 2 front pipes on either side of the engine. They were glowing red. They were actually bright red on the strain. They were bright red. The clutch pipe was just beside these exhaust pipes, and the fluid had boiled out of the clutch cylinders. Blew everything out, and no clutch. But the funny thing was, I didn't, by this time I didn't tell the wife either. And I said, put the kettle on and a cup of tea, if you can think about that. So we open the cupboards in the caravan. This ball's started coming running out of it. I think someone's thinking, oh, it was bags of crisps. Well, the altitude we're at, the freaking crisps are going to freaking balls. All these balls start running out of the thing. And they went, oh, what's this? I forgot to do some African rice. Anyway, what do I do? I couldn't get back home. So what I did was, I left the thing to cool down, and after looking, okay, I got it. I asked the wife, I get a straw, because they always straw from kids. A straw? Yeah, get a straw. What do you want a straw for? No, just a straw. Anyway, open the engine, open the top of the brake cylinder, open the top of the clutch wheel holder, sucked the brake fluid out of it into the about 20-30 times. It took me 2 days to get the test out of my figure bank. Anyway, eventually I had enough fluid, I got enough fluid out of the brake to give me hydraulic fluid in the clutch cylinder, and I pedaled it back up again. Wow. And, but, see a holiday without incidents. It's freaking boring. It's like, the kids also, oh yeah, it's one, someone, another, right, okay, we kind of finish it off at that. I shall have holiday something now. I can hear all that. Anyway, a lot of people ask me, how did you get a nickname Kiwi? Hands up, anybody here knows the question. Anybody here knows how to get a nickname Kiwi? The way I got the nickname Kiwi is that my father was in New Zealand for 20 years. After the war, he was always coming back to New Zealand. That was his plan. But he met my mother on the island. And they married. And my mother always promised me that when we got married, we would go to New Zealand. Back to New Zealand. So I was the first boy born. My sister's older, I'm a little one. My father used to take me around to the neighbour. You know, these times, you were very late, you didn't want to tell you, you were very late for a yard. He used to take me on a week carry around, you know, the neighbours and that. And he bored everyone in the village about New Zealand. Everyone bored him, told them all New Zealand stories. And to keep my father happy, the neighbours called the wee guy in a freaking cot a Kiwi. So that's how I ended up being called Kiwi. That's how I ended up being called Kiwi.
Let's give a big... Led down the garden path. We should have called this Lighthill Confessions from a card. But I want you to make a confession just now. Somebody was telling me that somebody was around the Macleod with one of these metal detectors, and they were finding this very, very strange result coming up at that place. And they were saying, this feels as if not done a thing at all. I think it's something to do with a car shaped like a picture.
I'm
going to tell us the story.
Down in Greece on a Sunday. We got this figure, I don't know how we got it, down the Macleod in Greece. We got this A40 and we just toured about on Sunday. And somebody shocked us. And they told us, get rid of it, get rid of that, get rid of this cannon. Freaking next thing went down 2 nights after. 3 shots, big hole, push his car in and cover in the sand. Did they find it?
And it's no, I didn't have to lie. And it's still there.
It's still there, it's an A40, a green one.
So you can imagine in 1,000 years, archaeologists coming there and finding this vehicle. And on the other hand, maybe you should go and get it and dig it up and give it to the common after. A couple of things there.
Never did that call. I'm sweating.
There is a lady actually who remembers your uncle in Detroit. That's Picky Hooligan comes here.
Oh.
She remembers your uncle in Detroit.
Is that, yeah.
Was it Francis? What was it? Was it Francis?
Francis in Detroit?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Well, if she ever makes it again, you see Picky Hooligan. She remembers Francis and all. Yes.
A clever guy.
Yes.
And his son, Norman Andrews, he worked for British Leyland in Glasgow when British Leyland was big. And British Leyland sent him to India to build a factory. Because in India they started building all sorts of taxis. Francis was sent to India by Leyland to build a factory over in India. Clever guy, and he used to work at the nuclear place up in
I just suddenly, I was looking at this photo and I was figuring it out, and I remembered why I had that photo. That Jaguar I got was in a garage for many years here. It belonged to the lady in the red trousers, brother, who was living in Bermuda at the time.
That's right. That's another story, I can tell you that story too.
The car that came from Macleod.
From Macleod, and it's in Bahamas.
Yeah.
And I've still got it, and I've got it beautiful.
Yeah, there you are. So a lot of that is, no, he said he would come back here and talk to us about the Kuyanis. That would be a prosper common effort and depth thing.
Yeah.
So we'll, normally we'll come to see he's not got the Kuyani side to him.
You can talk about the
I am very pleased that you have the west side half 2 years, as I do also. My mother was on Brad.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you very much indeed on behalf of the Common F3. I'm sure if there's any more questions before we have a cup of tea.
Yeah, any questions?
Any questions?
I've got the answer to all of you. Saying that, when they had families of 8 and 9 and 10 and that, they had more electricity.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
That's what I said.
I thought it was no Netflix. Even my wife and I were brave. Even my wife and I were brave. There was 70 cats out, there was 81 and 9 yellow.
Oh my.
That was normal.
Yes.
I think if we get deep in that subject, that was just say thank you very much once again on behalf of Common F3.